You ever walk into a place and immediately feel like you're not welcome? Not because you're loud, not because you're rude, not because you're dressed funny, but because of your skin, your hair, your accent, your presence? That's exactly how Danielle Summers felt the moment she stepped into Maison Lavish, an upscale fashion boutique nestled in the heart of a wealthy suburb outside Atlanta. Danielle wasn't flashy. She wasn't loud. She didn't roll up with a designer purse or a blinding watch. But her confidence? Unmistakable. Her stride? Unbothered. She came looking for one thing, a dress for the most important night of her life. And she was prepared to spend whatever it cost. But the moment her fingertips brushed that glass door and she walked in, she could feel eyes watching her, judging her. And one of those eyes belonged to Trevor, the boutique's top salesman and most arrogant employee. Trevor was a tall, slim white man in his 30s, wearing a black turtleneck and gold-rimmed glasses that screamed fashion snob. He spotted Danielle from across the room and immediately dismissed her. To him, she didn't look like someone who belonged there. No designer labels, no flashy makeup, no big-name entourage. Just a beautiful black woman in a simple blouse, jeans, and braided hair tied back in a neat bun. He didn't even greet her when she walked in. He just went back to folding silk scarves like she was invisible. Danielle noticed. Oh, she noticed everything. She walked the floor slowly, scanning the racks. She'd saved up for this moment, not because she didn't have money, but because she believed in earning what she bought. Danielle was a rising tech entrepreneur, co-founder of a company that had just landed its biggest client. Her team had planned a formal gala to celebrate, and she needed the perfect dress. Not a nice dress, the perfect one. That's when her eyes landed on it. Near the back of the boutique, behind a velvet rope and a display case. A rich burgundy evening gown with a high-slit, structured bodice, and flowing satin that shimmered under the lights like a river of wine. It was breathtaking. She turned to Trevor, finally breaking the silence. "Excuse me," she said politely. "Could I take a closer look at that dress?" Trevor didn't even look up. "That section's by appointment only," he muttered. Danielle raised an eyebrow. "Okay. Well, I'd like to make an appointment now." Trevor sighed dramatically. "That's not how it works," he said, clearly annoyed. "We don't just let people off the street try on our most exclusive designs." Danielle's face didn't change, but inside, something cracked. Off the street? She bit her tongue. She was raised better than to give people like him the satisfaction of seeing her angry. She tried again. "I'd like to speak to a manager." Trevor smirked. "I am the manager." He wasn't. He was just the only one on the floor at the moment. But he liked the power. He liked feeling like he could gatekeep fashion from people like her. Danielle stood still for a moment. Measured. Then she pulled out her phone, tapped her banking app, and turned the screen toward him. $1.7 million in her business account. "I don't need to be off the street to afford that dress," she said softly. "But now I need to know if you're refusing to show it to me because you think I can't afford it or because of something else." Trevor's eyes flicked to the screen, then back up. He fumbled. "We still require appointments." Danielle nodded. "Understood." She turned and walked out, calm, poised, and without another word. But the moment she stepped outside, she took a deep breath. Not out of frustration, but out of calculation. Because what Trevor didn't know was that Danielle had already been scouting that boutique for months. She'd admired it, dreamed of buying something from there, until now. Now she wasn't going to buy a dress. She was going to buy the whole store. That evening, Danielle made a few calls. One to her lawyer. Another to her business partner. A third to her godmother, who happened to sit on the board of the shopping center's development company. Within 48 hours, she had a meeting scheduled with the boutique's current owner, Mrs. Evelyn Brassard, a Paris-born fashion icon in her late 60s who was considering retirement. Danielle came in polished, poised, and precise. She didn't mention Trevor. Not yet. She simply expressed interest in the business, explained her vision, and asked the right questions. Evelyn was impressed. "Not many people understand fashion and business," she said with a smile. You do." Danielle smiled. "Fashion is identity. Business is empowerment. I plan to bring both together." 2 weeks later, the sale was finalized. Danielle didn't even flinch at the asking price. She paid it in full, no loans, no investors. The papers were signed. The boutique was hers. She waited exactly 3 weeks before walking back into Maison Lavish. Same jeans. Same blouse. Same confident walk. Trevor was back at the scarf table. He looked up, eyes narrowing. You again? He scoffed. Still can't afford it? Danielle smiled. Oh, I afford it just fine. She looked around the room and then said, I'd like to speak to the owner. Trevor rolled his eyes. The owner doesn't deal with customers directly. Danielle tilted her head. Funny. I'm standing right here. Trevor blinked. What? Danielle reached into her handbag and pulled out the keys. She walked behind the counter, slowly, deliberately, and flipped the open/close sign to closed. Then she turned and said, You have two options, Trevor. You can pack your things and leave quietly, or you can wait while I call security to escort you out. Either way, you no longer work here. Trevor stood frozen. This is some kind of joke. Danielle stepped forward. You judged me the moment I walked in. You treated me like trash. And worse, you tried to make me feel less than. All because I didn't fit the mold you expected. Well, congratulations, you were right about one thing. I'm not just any customer. I'm the owner now. And this store? This store is about to become a space where everyone is welcome. Before Trevor could say another word, the front door opened, and in walked Evelyn Broussard, holding a bottle of champagne. Welcome to your new empire, darling, she said, kissing Danielle on both cheeks. Trevor's jaw dropped. Evelyn looked at him with disdain. Still here? She asked coldly. I thought you'd have some dignity left. Danielle didn't gloat. She didn't yell. She simply turned to Trevor and said, You should have just shown me the dress. He left without another word. But just when Danielle thought she'd shut the door on that chapter, an unexpected visitor walked in the next day. A young black girl, no more than 17, with tear-streaked cheeks and tattered clothes. She clutched a flyer from the boutique's new ad campaign, Luxury for All. She looked around nervously before whispering, Is it true? You own this place. Danielle smiled warmly. Yes, sweetheart. I do. Come in. What the girl said next would send Danielle down a path far more personal, and far more dangerous, than she ever expected. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift black voices and expose hidden truths. The young girl's name was Amira. 17 years old, soft-spoken, and hiding behind a pair of cracked glasses and sleeves that stretched too far down her arms. Danielle welcomed her inside, offered her a seat in the boutique's lounge, and gently poured her a glass of water. What brings you here, sweetheart? Danielle asked with a smile, trying not to scare her off. Amira hesitated, her fingers trembling slightly as she placed the flyer on the table between them. I saw this in the community center. It said this place was different now. That it was for girls like me. Danielle leaned in, her voice warm. It is. You're safe here. What's going on? Amira took a shaky breath and looked around the sparkling boutique, at the rows of beautiful gowns, at the soft music playing from the ceiling speakers, at the air that smelled like roses and cedarwood. She looked out of place. She knew it. But Danielle didn't treat her like she didn't belong. I live in group housing, Amira finally said. I'm supposed to graduate next month. But there's this formal event at school, a scholarship dinner, and they told us we need to come dressed appropriately. I don't have anything. I figured I'd never go. But then I saw your ad. Luxury for All. Her voice cracked. And I just thought, maybe someone finally meant it. Danielle's chest ached. She reached across the table and gently took Amira's hand. You're here now, she said. And we're going to find you something that makes you feel seen. Not just pretty. Powerful. Amira blinked, surprised. No one had ever said that to her before. Danielle called Melanie, her new assistant, a young black woman who'd interned in marketing and helped rebuild the brand's inclusive vision. Bring out Collection B, Danielle said. Let's give this queen a proper fitting. What followed was nothing short of magical. Amira stepped into a private dressing suite, and Melanie brought gown after gown, letting her feel the fabrics, choose the colors, explore her own sense of style for the first time. At one point, Amira stared into the mirror for a long time in a deep emerald dress with cap sleeves and a satin ribbon at the waist. Her eyes welled up. I've never felt beautiful before, she whispered. Danielle held her shoulders. That's not the dress. That's you finally seeing yourself. It was one of those moments that changed Danielle's mission. What started as an act of vengeance, buying the boutique to prove a point, was becoming something more. She didn't want to just own Maison Lavish. She wanted to transform it. Make it a place where every woman, regardless of background, could feel worthy, powerful, royal. She decided right then and there. Every month they'd offer full outfit sponsorships for underprivileged girls with dreams bigger than their circumstances. Amira would be the first. The next day, Danielle launched a soft announcement online about the initiative, posting a photo of Amira, smiling shyly in the emerald gown, captioned, "Her dreams are priceless. Her future? Limitless." The post went viral. Comments poured in. Stories of girls, women, even grandmothers who'd been turned away, shamed, or ignored in high-end stores because of how they looked, how they spoke, or what people assumed they could afford. Danielle's boutique became a symbol of quiet rebellion, of elegance without arrogance. But while many cheered, not everyone was happy. Word traveled fast, and it wasn't long before Danielle received a letter from Vincent Duclair, the owner of a rival chain of luxury fashion stores, including Noir Belle, the boutique down the street. Vincent was powerful, wealthy, connected, and he didn't appreciate the headlines being taken by a former customer who had no formal training in couture. His letter was polite on the surface, but laced with warning: your campaign may win hearts, but it cheapens the exclusivity of high fashion. Perhaps it's best you leave this market to those who understand its traditions. Danielle read the letter aloud in a team meeting. Everyone in the room went silent. Traditions? She repeated. You mean gatekeeping? Disrespect? Humiliation? Nah, not anymore. Melanie looked at her with fire in her eyes. Let's show him who really defines luxury. That night, Danielle took her team out for dinner, and over plates of jollof rice, chicken marsala, and red velvet cake, she sketched out a plan. A new fashion line titled Roots to Royalty, a celebration of African fabrics, Black heritage, and modern elegance. Every dress would have a story. Every stitch would mean something. And Amira? She'd be the face of the campaign. They would launch it in 2 months, just in time for Amira's graduation and the summer gala season. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. One of Danielle's junior stylists, a girl named Kelsey, was approached outside the boutique by a sharply dressed man in a silver car. He introduced himself as a talent scout from Noir Belle and said he'd seen Kelsey's work online. Flattered, Kelsey shared that she worked under Danielle. The man's smile disappeared. "I see," he said coldly. "Well, keep us updated. We're interested in your progress." The next morning, Danielle found her shop's front window shattered. A brick lay on the floor inside with a note wrapped around it: "Stay in your lane." Police were called. A report was filed. No fingerprints. No cameras on that angle of the sidewalk. But Danielle knew. This wasn't random. Her lawyer urged her to pause the campaign. Even Charles, her tech co-founder and best friend, called her. "Danny," he said, "you're stirring the waters too fast. You sure you want this smoke?" Danielle didn't hesitate. "I don't just want the smoke. I am the fire." Still, she couldn't deny it, she was being watched. One evening after closing, she saw a shadow slip past the alley beside the boutique. Another night, she returned to her car and found the tires slashed. Someone wanted her gone. But Danielle refused to back down. She doubled security. She expanded the initiative. And she poured herself deeper into the Roots to Royalty campaign, bringing in local designers, seamstresses, and even high school students interested in fashion. She was building something real. Then, just 1 week before the launch, everything unraveled. Danielle arrived early to finalize fittings with Amira. But when she entered the boutique, the lights were off. The alarm was disarmed. Her stomach sank. "Hello?" she called out. No answer. She walked slowly toward the back, and stopped. The storage room had been ransacked. Dresses slashed. Boxes emptied. Designs shredded. And on the wall, sprayed in red paint: "You don't belong here." Danielle's breath caught in her throat. But that wasn't the worst of it. Her phone buzzed. It was a text. No name. Just a photo. Amira, crying, tied to a chair in a dark room. Caption: "If you want her to walk the stage, stop the campaign." Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths. Danielle stood frozen, the image of Amira bound and terrified burning into her eyes. Her fingers trembled as she stared at her phone. No name, no number, just a picture and a chilling message: "If you want her to walk the stage, stop the campaign." For the first time since she'd taken over Maison Lavish, Danielle felt fear not for herself, but for someone she swore to protect. Amira was more than just a young girl in need. She was the why behind it all. She was the face of what Danielle was trying to build. And now, someone had stolen her away to break that momentum. To send a message. Danielle gritted her teeth, her fear rapidly transforming into rage. Whoever did this thought they were dealing with someone who'd fold. They were wrong. She called 911 first, reporting a possible abduction. Then she called Charles. Within 20 minutes, he was at the boutique with his laptop, already pinging the metadata of the image. It was sent through a masked number. Encrypted. But, he paused. The photo was taken less than 3 miles from here. There's a signal bounce off a local Wi-Fi source. Danielle's mind raced. Which means she's still in the area? Highly likely, Charles said. And whoever sent this didn't expect us to have tech friends. At the same time, Detective Angela Knox, a sharp, no-nonsense black woman from the Community Crimes Unit, responded to the call. Danielle had met her once at a business empowerment summit. Danielle Summers, Knox said with narrowed eyes. Didn't think I'd be seeing you like this. Danielle wasted no time explaining everything. The threatening messages, the vandalism, the shady man in the car, the boutique rivalry. Knox nodded. It's classic intimidation. And now they've escalated. Which means they're scared. But that's also when they get desperate. Back at the boutique, Danielle received a second message. This time a video. Amira's voice could be heard sobbing in the background. Then a voice, male cold. She'll be released unharmed if your boutique cancels the Roots to Royalty event, deletes all online posts, and issues a public statement withdrawing your campaign. Then static. Danielle's blood boiled. This wasn't just about fashion anymore. This was war. And someone, maybe Vincent Duclair, maybe someone bigger, was using scare tactics to protect an empire built on exclusion. Charles traced the video signal to a strip of warehouses in the industrial district. It's not exact, but this is the only bounce consistent with the upload location. Detective Knox advised caution. We can't storm the place without cause. But if you can get a visual or sound confirmation, something actionable, we move in. Danielle made a bold decision. I'll go myself. Charles protested. Danny, no. They targeted you for a reason. They want to break you. Exactly, Danielle said. And I want them to see that they picked the wrong one. Equipped with a hidden mic and a tracking device from Charles's security startup, Danielle approached the industrial site in an inconspicuous black SUV. It was nearly midnight. The streetlights flickered and a light rain drizzled from the sky, setting the perfect scene for danger. She parked around the corner, heart pounding, eyes scanning. From the shadows, she spotted a large man standing near a steel door, guarding it. She recognized him from a previous post outside Noir Belle. One of Vincent's muscle men. Danielle walked slowly, her heels echoing. The man stepped forward. You're not supposed to be here, he grunted. Danielle smiled calmly. Tell your boss I'm ready to talk. But only face to face. He paused, studied her for a beat, then opened the door. Inside, the air was thick with tension. The warehouse was mostly empty except for a dim office in the back where a single light shone. Danielle's heels tapped against the concrete as she walked toward it. She was led into the room where Vincent Duclair sat behind a desk, sipping something dark from a crystal glass. He looked her up and down like she was beneath him. Ah, the disruptor, he said. I expected someone taller. Danielle didn't flinch. I expected someone smarter. You're risking your empire over a teenage girl and a few dresses. Vincent chuckled darkly. It's not about dresses. It's about control. About class. About knowing your place in the ecosystem. He leaned forward. You think you can walk into this world and change the rules because you own a storefront? Because you're loud online? This industry is centuries old. And we like it the way it is. Danielle crossed her arms. Then it's time someone flipped the table. Vincent gestured to a side room. She's in there. Safe for now. But this doesn't end well for you, Miss Summers. Walk away and I'll make sure your name stays clean. You'll even get a payout. Quietly. You can start another business, just not this one. Danielle looked him square in the eye. You think money scares me? You think silence is a gift? She took a slow step forward. Let me be very clear. If anything happens to Amira, if a thread on her dress is out of place, There won't be a corner of this city or a shadow in this industry where you'll be safe from what's coming. Vincent narrowed his eyes. You're brave. Danielle smiled. No. I'm black and I'm done asking for permission. She turned and walked straight to the side room, but before she could open the door, 3 more men stepped out from the shadows, blocking her path. One reached for her arm. That was his mistake. What Vincent and his goons didn't know was that Danielle's tracking signal was already live, and Detective Knox was listening. Within minutes, a SWAT team pulled up outside, sirens cutting through the rain. Danielle used the distraction to shove past the guards and throw open the door. Inside, Amira was bound to a chair but alive, frightened but unharmed. Danielle ran to her, untying the ropes with shaking hands. I've got you, baby, she whispered. You're safe now. Explosions of noise and footsteps filled the warehouse. Shouting. Radios. Guns drawn. Officers swarmed in. Vincent tried to slip away through a back exit, but Detective Knox was already waiting. Going somewhere, Fashion King, she said, slapping the cuffs on him. You're under arrest for kidnapping, conspiracy, and obstruction of civil rights. Vincent snarled. You can't prove a thing. Knox smirked. Actually, I can. You threatened her on a live mic? And oh yeah, your face was in the reflection of the glass in that video. Outside, Amira hugged Danielle tightly, tears mixing with the rain. You came for me, she whispered. Danielle smiled. Of course I did. You're royalty. But as the night calmed and sirens faded, Charles checked Danielle's phone. A final message had come through. It wasn't from Vincent. It was from someone else. A voice message. Distorted. Come, Mel. You've embarrassed one of our assets. Vincent was just the beginning. Walk away from this industry before you uncover more than you're prepared to handle. This isn't about fashion anymore. This is about power. Danielle's eyes widened. There's more? Charles looked at her grimly. We just scratched the surface. And whoever sent this, they're still watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths. Danielle stood under the boutique's awning, rain still dripping off the corners of the canvas, her heart heavier than it had ever been. Vincent Duclair had been arrested, Amira was safe, and the boutique was back under lock and key, but the storm wasn't over. That distorted voice message echoed in her ears. Vincent was just the beginning. This isn't about fashion anymore. This is about power. Danielle stared out at the street, mind spinning. Power? What kind of power? And who was this shadow voice threatening her now? If Vincent wasn't the top of the food chain, then who was? Charles joined her moments later, his phone pressed to his ear, tracing metadata, cross-referencing voice patterns with databases. Whoever sent that message, he said grimly, knew exactly how to mask their trail. But they used an IP address that pinged briefly off a secured line connected to, I get this, a major luxury conglomerate in Europe. One that owns 10 of the biggest fashion labels in the world. Danielle's brow furrowed. You're saying this isn't just local, it's global? Exactly, Charles replied. And that voice? Might belong to someone on their board. Danielle exhaled slowly. So now I'm in a war with international fashion royalty. Charles looked at her. You've been in it? You just didn't know it. Back at Maison Lavish, the team had regrouped. Melanie, Kelsey, Carla, all shaken by the recent events but more determined than ever. Amira, now safe at home under police protection, sent Danielle a heartfelt voice note. Thank you for saving me. I still want to wear the dress if I still can. Danielle wiped away a tear as she listened. You will, baby girl. And you'll walk across that stage like the queen you are. The Roots to Royalty Gala was back on schedule, but Danielle knew it wouldn't go unchallenged. She increased security, hired private investigators, and brought in a cybersecurity firm to protect the store's systems. Still, threats persisted. Anonymous phone calls. Mysterious luxury deliveries with mocking notes. How long do you think this will last? And random men in expensive cars loitering outside the boutique without ever stepping in. Each day brought new challenges. But Danielle refused to be broken. She focused on her work, pouring every ounce of strength into finalizing the line. Each dress in Roots to Royalty was handcrafted with African textiles, Ankara, Kent, a dyer, and fused with modern silhouettes. The message was bold: Black heritage is not only beautiful, it's luxury. Word of the campaign had already reached fashion influencers around the country. Major blogs picked it up. Celebrities started liking and sharing Danielle's posts. Even Vogue Africa reposted one of Amira's promo shots. But then came the invitation. A sleek, handwritten envelope arrived at the boutique, sealed with gold wax. Inside was a single card. Maison Lavish is formally invited to the Chambre de Mode Privée, an exclusive fashion consortium gala held in Paris. One slot. One voice. One chance to present. Danielle blinked. The Chambre de Mode Privée was the most elite fashion event in the world, an event where billion-dollar brands presented to the world's wealthiest investors. It was invite only. They want me to walk into the lion's den, Danielle whispered. They want to see who dares disrupt their system. Charles frowned. Or they want to bury you publicly. Melanie looked up. So what do we do? Danielle stood. We pack our gowns. We walk that stage. And we show them what royalty really looks like. Within days, Danielle and her team were in Paris. But the moment they landed, the hostility was clear. Their hotel reservations had mysteriously been lost. A private car arranged by the event never arrived. Paparazzi ignored them completely, focusing instead on the European brands in attendance. Whispers followed Danielle and her all-black team through the hallways of the event venue, side eyes, scoffs, and even one executive who murmured, "Let's see how long the charity case lasts." But Danielle kept her head high. Backstage, models from other brands snubbed hers. One designer even accidentally spilled coffee on Amira's gown during rehearsal, nearly ruining the fabric. Amira was devastated. Danielle knelt beside her. "You still look like a queen," she said gently. "We don't need perfection, we need presence." With the gala minutes away, Danielle's team prepared nervously. The audience was packed with industry titans, global fashion editors, and billionaire investors. The moment came. Lights dimmed. Music rose. Danielle stepped onto the stage, not just as a boutique owner but as a movement. One by one her models took the runway. Black girls and women of every shape, shade, and style. Each dress told a story. And when Amira stepped out in her emerald gown, fully restored, wearing a gold headpiece fashioned like a crown, the room went silent. The applause started with one woman in the back. Then another. Then the entire left side. It grew thunderous, undeniable. Danielle bowed. But as she turned backstage, her phone buzzed again. A video message. She opened it, and her heart nearly stopped. Maison Lavish was on fire. The boutique. Her store. The legacy she'd built. Flames roared in the background. Sirens in the distance. Smoke billowing through shattered windows. A voice spoke off camera. "You took the stage. So we took your throne. Now let's see how far you get without a kingdom." Danielle stared at the screen, speechless. The fashion world was watching. She had just won the battle in Paris. But back home, she was under attack like never before. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths. Danielle watched the video in stunned silence, the flames of her boutique raging across her phone screen like a nightmare in high definition. Maison Lavish, her dream, her statement, her sanctuary, was engulfed in fire. Sirens howled in the background. People ran past the camera. The message was brutal and clear. You don't belong in our world, stay in your place. And though Danielle stood on a runway in Paris, draped in applause, her heart was burning with the very walls she'd built back home. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Not yet. Charles ran toward her from backstage. "It's confirmed," he said breathlessly. "Fire department just called. They're fighting to control it, but it's bad. The building might be a total loss." Melanie was right behind him, phone in hand, face pale. "They're saying it was arson. Someone broke in, triggered the sprinklers, disabled them. Security footage, wiped." Danielle inhaled slowly. It was a hit. Time. Deliberate. They knew I'd be here. Just then, Amira appeared beside her, still in her gown, still glowing but stunned. "What do we do?" she asked softly. Danielle turned to her. "We don't crumble. We rebuild." That night, Danielle stood in her hotel room, staring out the window at the Eiffel Tower, shimmering in the distance. "They thought burning down the boutique would end the movement," she whispered. "But it was never about the building. It was always about what we stand for. The next morning she called a press conference. Paris press, fashion bloggers, business media. Everyone showed up, expecting her to address the fire quietly, maybe cry, maybe cancel her campaign. But Danielle had something else in mind. She stepped up to the podium, poised, powerful, unshaken. Yes, my boutique was burned to the ground last night, she began. Yes, it was an attack. A message. But here's my response to that message. We do not break and we do not leave. My team, my vision, and my girls, especially girls like Amira, we will not be silenced by fire, fear, or billion-dollar bullies who think black excellence is a threat to their tradition. We are the tradition. We are the future. The room exploded in applause. Cameras flashed. But Danielle wasn't done. Maison Lavish was one building. One address. But what we created, that's global now. We are launching Maison Lavish online. A worldwide platform where black designers, stylists, models, and creatives can thrive, showcase, and sell on their terms. Every gown that burned will be reborn, digitally, physically, and defiantly. And the Roots to Royalty collection will go on tour. Atlanta, Lagos, London, Johannesburg, New York. As she stepped away from the podium, her phone buzzed. Another message. No number. No voice this time, just 2 words. We lost. Danielle smiled. Yes, you did. Back in Atlanta, the ashes of the old boutique were still warm when donations, volunteers, and media arrived. Black contractors, architects, artists, and neighbors came forward. We'll help you rebuild. Even celebrities who had seen the Paris show sent messages. Viola Davis, Issa Rae, Lupita Nyong'o, all cheering her on. And then came the surprise phone call. Hello. Danielle answered cautiously. Miss Summers, this is Celeste Duclair. Vincent's sister. Danielle tensed. I saw everything, Celeste continued. What he did, what they did. I'm ashamed. But I also want to help undo it. Danielle waited. Maison Lavish doesn't need charity, she said carefully. No, Celeste replied. But maybe it could use a satellite store on the Champs-Élysées. Fully funded. Fully yours. Danielle's eyes widened. You'd do that. I owe you more than that, Celeste said. You burned brighter than anything they ever tried to build. Months passed. The foundation for a new Maison Lavish in Atlanta was laid, this time 10 times bigger. A flagship. The online platform Danielle launched exploded. Young designers from Ghana, Nigeria, the Caribbean, and across the U.S. joined in. Amira graduated in her gown, featured on Essence and Teen Vogue. She earned a full scholarship to Howard, majoring in fashion design. Danielle became more than a boutique owner. She became a movement. One morning, as she stood on the balcony of her rebuilt store, watching workers place a golden crown logo above the glass doors, Charles approached with coffee. Did you ever think it would get this big? He asked. Danielle smiled, tears in her eyes. I didn't think it would get this hard, she said. But I always knew it would be worth it. And as the sun rose over Atlanta, casting golden light on a brand reborn from ashes, Danielle Summers stood tall, not just a queen in her own right, but a builder of kingdoms. Because the dress was never the point. The respect was. The recognition. The legacy. And nobody could ever take that away again. Never let others define your worth based on how you look, where you're from, or what they think you can afford. Danielle wasn't just fighting for a dress. She was fighting for dignity, visibility, and justice in an industry that often tries to exclude voices like hers. When people try to shut you out, burn down what you've built, or force you to shrink, you rise taller. You rebuild bigger. And you become the storm they feared all along. Sparkle's power doesn't come from privilege, it comes from purpose. Sparkles, they thought she wanted a dress. She built a dynasty. The end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths.